Hi everybody, it's 314 Reactor here. Today we're going to be looking at Metro Exodus. This is the Enhanced Edition, which is fully ray traced, which I believe means it has no rasterization whatsoever. It's all being ray traced. Lighting, shadowing, reflections, everything is handled by ray tracing. I'm running this on RTX3090, and the settings I have are everything maxed out: 4K, extreme quality, VSync, motion blur high, ray tracing ultra, DLSS on quality, reflections are ray traced. I've got variable rate shading off. Variable rate shading is an optimization that I think lowers the detail in surrounding areas, so it would lower the shading quality of things on the side of the screen where you wouldn't necessarily notice it. So having that off actually improves image quality, as far as I know, because I just want to push the RTX3090 as much as possible. Hairworks on, advanced physics on, tessellation on. With HDR off because recording in HDR can cause issues when I try and edit it. So that's all the settings. I'm also running with a Core i7-6700K and 32 gigs of RAM. Let's see how this runs. So it's a nighttime area at the moment, and the game is running at 59, 60 FPS. I've played it for a couple of hours now, and pretty much it hasn't dipped below 50 frames with quality DLSS. And I've looked closely at the screen with DLSS on, and it looks pretty much indistinguishable from a native 4K, but of course it runs better. You get about 10, 20 extra frames a second, and this is using the latest DLSS 2.1. So I think it renders internally at like Quad HD or something like that, and then uses the AI to upscale that. I mean, there's probably a few instances where you can kind of see that it's not quite native quality sometimes, but then there's other times where it looks actually better than 4K native quality, which is just insanity. So even in this combat situation, the frame rate is still pretty solid. And my Core i7-6600K is a pretty old CPU, and way below the recommended, like, top-end specs that they've put for this game. So the fact that it still runs so smooth is just crazy. Although in this area, the GPU utilization is about 99-100%, CPU at 61%, so I think it is going to be more GPU limited, especially with all the ray tracing on. I haven't played the original Metro Exodus that much, but I remember it not being this smooth. So it's kind of double magic, because they've managed to fully ray trace it and make it run smoother. So we're just in an inside area at the moment, again at night. And I just love how natural all the shadowing lighting is. You can see as you turn this lamp on and off, the way it affects the shadows there. It's the ambient lighting of it is so accurate and so soft, much more like real light. And the way the shadowing is occluded by the fact that this is sitting on this like block here, but there's no harsh shadows around it. It's all just a very, very soft shadowing, very subtle. It just seems like the kind of shadowing you get with like really nice ambient occlusion, but it's just everywhere and really accurate. And there's reflections in the water that are ray traced, but in some areas you can see where the reflection tails off as the geometry goes off screen. So I think in some places they've done optimizations where they've had to put in like screen space ray tracing as opposed to full like rays bouncing off the screen. I imagine that's just for getting this to run performantly, because it is quite hard. Quake 2 RTX at 4K 3090 ran at about 30-40 frames a second without any DLSS on, and that's, you know, an older game that has older assets in it, even with the like Quake 2 XP mod stuff in it. So to run a more modern AAA game fully ray tracing, yeah, you're gonna have to make some optimizations and concessions to get it running performant, especially in an FPS. At this water here, you can see there's reflections of everything, all good, but then as you go, reflections there of the land, you can see as the land goes off the screen, the reflection drops off the screen as well. But the reflections of these, they stay on the screen, so some of it's fully ray traced and some of it is screen space ray traced. It's not that noticeable. So you can see that building there, as it goes off screen, it's still reflecting the building, but the detail in the building isn't being reflected, like the windows. So I think the ray tracing, like off-screen ray tracing, is handling the actual geometry, and then they've probably got some sort of SSR ray trace tech to handle the finer details on the building. Like I said, I imagine if they didn't do that, the frame rate would just probably tank a little bit if they didn't put these little optimizations in. Alrighty, so skipped forward to daytime, just so we can get a better look of how the sunlight effects look with ray tracing. And already you can see the light coming through those little slats there, and then you've got the light bouncing around from this little candle here, and the way those shadows sort of blend in with each other is kind of seamless. It's actually quite amazing. It's the kind of thing with raster you'd see the shadows kind of conflicting with each other a little bit. Ray tracing just handles it. And wow. These water effects are some of the best water effects I've seen in any game. And I love my water effects in game. Really nice effects. And obviously, because this is a game that runs in real time with differing weather effects and times of day, the ray tracing really helps out with showing those different things. Like when it's rainy, it's more overcast, and as it's sunny now but kind of foggy, you can see the sun is being diffused out in the way that you'd expect it to be. Because there's some points in the game where you look out to certain areas and your mind is almost tricked into thinking it's photorealistic just because the lighting's so accurate. And again, yeah, I'm just looking really close to the screen here, trying to see any sort of issues with DLSS. I'm just not seeing any. It just looks so good. It looks basically like native 4K. And what I'm going to do is, so it's running about 60 frames a second there. I'm going to turn VSync off, and I'm going to turn DLSS off. So we're going to get unlocked frame rate, and we're going to see what the frame rate's like with DLSS off, and we're going to see how it looks with DLSS off. So this is going to be native 4K, and the frame rate is 62. Interestingly, it looks like that wire going up there is a little less defined as it goes off into the distance. Just trying to look as close as possible just to really see if there's any real differences there. So that looks pretty good. That's native 4K, 66 frames a second. Turn DLSS back on, right up to quality. And yeah, that cable is much more defined as it goes off into the distance. The structure here looks a lot better in the details. And even like the corn here, yeah, there's no loss of detail there that I can see. Like there's no blur, there's no evidence that this, like you wouldn't really be able to tell that this isn't 4K native. And in fact, in some ways, it looks better. A lot like I found with Cyberpunk, there's certain areas where it looks like it's 16K super sampling, so it actually looks better than 4K in some instances. And yeah, the frame rate jumps right up to about 60, 70. Ooh, then again, this area, the CPU utilization jumped up, so it could be that this area is a bit more CPU limited, because yeah, the FPS is about 68, 69, 70, so there's a bit of a gain there, but not as much as you'll see in less CPU bound areas. With a better CPU, you'd probably see DLSS throw that frame rate even higher. But yeah, reaching 91 frames here. 94. My god, it's crazy. Fully ray traced AAA game, and it's like reaching 90 frames a second. Let's turn the VSync back on, just so we don't get any frame tearing. Unfortunately, when VSync's on, the game is limited to 60 frames a second, which is a bit annoying. I'd hope that it would have gone and allowed up to like 100, 120. It does deliver a very smooth frame rate, very smooth frame times. No lag, no oddities or anything like that. So this area is so nice with a nice blue sky and the snow. It just looks gorgeous. And again, the lighting is so real, and when it's running in HDR, the lighting improves even further. And the lighting in here as well, the way the light bounces in this internal area, and the shadowing, so natural. There's no need for any like indoor point lights or anything like that. You can just put the sun in the sky. It must be so much easier for artists and devs. I think you can just put the sun in the sky and let the ray tracer handle all the lighting, and it just works beautifully. It's really making me feel, it's like May, but I'm starting to feel like it's winter. I really do think in the next 10, definitely in the next 20 years, games will be photorealistic, like pretty much indistinguishable from reality. Another thing is this really reminds me of Stalker Call of Pripyat, and that was an awesome game. That at the time, 10 years ago, pushed the technology as well. That was one of the first games I played that had tessellation in it. Looks like some pipes underwater or something reflecting there. Can't tell if that's a reflection or something under the water. there's nothing to reflect, so I don't know if that's just a glitch or that's strange. Here we find a bug. I've just killed this crab thing and the character's just stuck now. I've had a few bugs as well where the resolution seems to be, it says it's 4K but it's like quad HD and it's upscaled, looks horrible. I've had that before. I've also had games that not load either, it just kind of crashes on the loading screen. So while it is a very good advanced game, it does still have a few glitches, so I think I'm going to have to reload here. So yeah, if you get the game and you load it up and you put it in 4K and it says it's 4K but it looks really blurry, it's probably where you just need to readjust the resolution, change it, and then change it back to 4K. Just one of the bugs I found. Alrighty. So that's where the frame rate goes down a bit, 46. A bit more CPU utilization there. So I think that's where my old Core i7 is struggling a bit. But even then, it's not an unplayable frame rate. I'm definitely going to upgrade my PC at some point to make sure that the rest of the PC matches with the 3090. And again, just look at that lighting. Like, just look at that lighting here. Again, more sun being diffused through the fog and the cold. So one of the other really great things about the ray tracing is how it handles human skin, because I think the subsurface scattering on the skin and stuff will be all handled by the ray tracer. So again, all very, very natural. The way the light semi-permeates the skin and bounces back out. The light from the fire here, the way it reflects off their faces, and the way the light disperses around them. Look at the lighting in here as well. The sun coming in the windows, reflecting off that metal. God damn, that's nice. Oh, was that a cloud occluding the sun there? I think it was. Oh wow, yeah, that was a cloud occluding the sun for a bit there, just like you get in real life. Wow. That's awesome. Wow, I got the little reflection in that pipe there. The fire, the lighting, oh my god. Ooh. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, the textures in the clouds sometimes look a bit weird. I think that's another bug, but I think we're getting a storm coming in here. And the subtle way the sun dipped out with when the cloud went over it and naturally just sort of faded out. That's so nice. That's the kind of thing you probably could even get with any sort of ambient occlusion or anything like that in raster. It's so beautiful. It's the subtle stuff like that though that you don't necessarily consciously notice, but it definitely affects how you can notice between a game or a really highly detailed rendered image and a photo. Because I don't think rasterization's ever going to be able to get to that point where it can produce a photorealistic, indistinguishable from reality image. That's so amazing. And again, this is a point where you forget that DLSS even exists because the image looks so smooth and so beautiful at this point, especially on Artyom's arm and the gun there. It just looks like super sampling. Oh my god, that is so awesome. And the dynamicism of the lighting, where it's over there it's kind of overcast, and then over here it's sunny. Oh, look at that lighting in here as well. The flickering of the light source indoors, sun coming in there. Oh, that's a trap. Oh! Okay, so I can just hear it really raining outside now, so I'm just going to try and get outside so we can see. Oh my god, the sound is so good as well. Oh, that storm is really hitting now. Oh, yes. Wow, okay. That's awesome. Oh, man. They've just nailed basically everything. Oh, those guys are in trouble. Oh my god. I thought it would attack those guys, but it didn't. Look at that water effect. Again, that's another parallel to Call of Pripyat. Because that had really amazing water effects in it as well. Oh man. That green glow with that red hot suppressor. Oh, that's awesome. I think there's one dude left in there. There we go. That's such a cool mechanic in the game as well. That they surrender. Oh, wow. Oh, and the sun as well. God, that is beautiful. Wow. Now, if somebody could do like a 10-hour loop of this, that's something I could fall asleep to. Whoop. Wow. Oh, man. And again, it's still running about 60 frames a second. Oh my god, this thing... Awesome. Oh, jeez. What the hell? Some naughty graffiti there. Oh, wow. Look at that transition of lighting though as you come out the outside. You go in. Oh man. This is so beautiful. Look at that. The sound, the lighting, the visuals, the texture, the art design. Just incredible. Lovely lens flare there as well. Even the lens flare becomes diffuse as it goes through the clouds. Oh my god. That was Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition running on RTX 3090. Basically 60 FPS the entire time with only a few dips down to about 40. Haven't seen anything below 40. It looks gorgeous. DLSS 2.1 is just beautiful and sometimes looks better than native 4K while giving a better frame rate. There's some CPU limitations I've seen with my old CPU, but that's to be expected. The reflections are gorgeous, although there are some optimizations with them, but again, that's just a concession that needs to be made. And I'd better wrap up the video here because I could probably just go on for hours about this. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe. Drop a comment, hit the little bell. Let me know if you want to see more Metro Exodus with ray tracing on, because I know I do. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope everyone's staying safe, and I will see you in the next one.